Most people aren't obsessed with their goals because they don't believe they're worthy of them. It's easy to dream about what you want, but in between where you are and what you want, there's a tremendous amount of stuff you got to change and do. And if you have a lot of trauma in your background, or you were raised by somebody who beat the shit out of you or told you were a piece of shit, or if you've had to deal with microaggressions or racist, discriminatory, systematic crap your entire life, you have been given the message over and over and over, even though it's not true, that you don't deserve it, that there's something wrong with you. And if you don't, at some point, be defiant against what the world or your caregivers or your past experience has pounded into your brain incorrectly, unfairly, you will forever be stuck with that story. You are not responsible for what happened to you. You survived what happened to you. But you do have a responsibility to heal yourself and to do the work to change so that you can be the happy, fulfilled person that you were born to be.
Yeah, that's really powerful because it's the only thing that works. And, you know, thinking about so many people have just immense things that have happened that have been unfair. And as you said, they didn't do anything to deserve it. But now what? Now you're there, you've got the trauma, and no one can heal it for you. There's a name for it. I think it's called the pedestrian problem. It's like, imagine that you get hit by a car and the driver was drunk. And let's say that the driver was Bill Gates. And let's say that you win a settlement. But if the damage that happened to your body can't be fixed with all the money in the world, and you just have to do physical therapy, then it's like, even though it is unfair that you have to do the physical therapy, there is no amount of money that you can throw at it that will stop you from having to suffer to build yourself back up. And I think a lot of people either fall prey to trap number one, which is they don't think they're worthy, or they fall prey to trap number two, which is it's so unfair they just don't take action.
Right.
But they're nonetheless in the situation that they're in. And if the whole punchline to life is neurochemistry and feeling joyful and, you know, being excited about who you are when you're by yourself, then it's like, well, you have to do the work, even if it isn't fair. And that to me,
especially if it isn't.
Why
because
especially?
There's two kinds of prisons that you can sentence yourself to or be sentenced to, right? One is all the physical shit you're talking about. The circumstances of your life, the circumstances of your body, the circumstances that are unfair. And then there is the mental prison. And that's the one you're in control of. So people can do all kinds of shit to you. And you can be born into situations that are not fair, they're not safe, they're cruel, it's unfair, you didn't deserve it. But the real power that you always have is how you react to it mentally. I'm not saying put lipstick on a pig and ignore the very real problems you're facing. I'm saying it begins with your mental attitude about your own ability to face it and to survive it and to move past it. That's what I'm saying. Because without that, like, let's go back to the woman in the domestic violence shelter who's had the shit beaten out of her by partners, who has immense emotional trauma stored in her nervous system, stored in the neurochemistry of her brain. She has an extraordinary amount of hurdles to get through in her life to heal, to be safe, to break patterns that are associated with the trauma that she's experienced as a child, the trauma that she experienced in romantic relationships, the physical abuse. She has issues related to poverty. Can a human being survive those things and change? Of course they can. It begins, though, with the belief that you can. And so when I come back to this moment every single morning, you can have nothing and you can still have your own back. You can have tremendous problems and very real obstacles that you're facing. And you can have a mindset that says, through my efforts, my attitude, I can have an impact on the situation that I'm in. That's the power that I have. I can ask for help because I believe I deserve it. I can seek therapy because I believe I should heal because I deserve that. I can seek information from shows like Impact Theory about how to break trauma patterns, about how to regulate my nervous system, because I believe I am worthy of that. When I raise my hand in the mirror, I'm basically saying, fuck off to these people that hurt me because I believe that I deserve better. That's where it begins. It begins with you. Self-confidence, self-love, self-esteem, self-reliance, self-awareness. It all has the same self. You have to give yourself those things. You want validation? Give it to yourself. You want to be cheered for? Give it to yourself. If you want to feel supported in life, start by giving those things to yourself, because the most important relationship that you have is the one you have with yourself, and you work on it the least. It's the foundation of every relationship you have. And so I believe that there are simple things you can do, from looking at hearts, which doesn't solve your problems. It proves to you that it's possible to change the way your brain works. That's why I want you to do it. It's not going to take away poverty. It's not going to make you lose 100 pounds. It's going to prove to you that shit, you do have power over the way your mind works. And when you get crafty about training your brain, you can do really cool shit. And when your attitude is optimistic, based on research, we know that you will work harder and keep going because you believe that it makes a difference. It begins with these simple things.
Speaking of tricks that you can do to get control of your mind, in the book, you talk about what I'll call a pattern interrupt. Forget the exact phrase you use for it, but you talk a lot about, I'm not going to think about that.
I'm not thinking about that.
What does that mean? How do you do it? Why is it useful?
So it's what I started doing before the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because you can count backwards to do the same thing. But a lot of times it's the pattern of negative thoughts. I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. Or even just worrying. What if the Delta variant takes off? What if I don't go back to work? What if this happens? What if that? How is that helping you exactly? Like, there's productive worry, which is worry that motivates you to take action. And then there's destructive worry, which is worry that makes you literally circle the drain mentally. You always want to interrupt destructive worrying or any kind of destructive self-talk. So the second you catch yourself going, gosh, I look fat, or boy, I'm a loser, or there I go, I failed again, you're like, literally slap that shit away, like high five it away. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. And you start with, I'm not thinking about that, because if you're so used to hearing I'm not good enough, there's no fucking way you're going to believe the mantra, I'm good enough. Because the thing about mantras are, and this is why most mantras are bullshit, is they don't work unless you believe them. And so there is power in creating what's called a meaningful mantra. But the first step to getting control of the negative self-talk is interrupt that shit. Don't listen to it. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. And then what I want you to do is just do that for a day. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. If you have any kind of thought that makes you feel bad, that you don't like, I'm not thinking about that. The next day, start to notice, what are the patterns in terms of the thoughts that come up? You know, when I was writing this book, one of my daughters talked about the fact that she's constantly feeling like she's not a good person. And so, for example, she missed a dentist appointment. And because she's constantly thinking I'm not a good person, missing the dentist appointment becomes evidence. See, there I am again. I missed the dentist appointment. I'm not a good person. No. Are you kidding? Like, if somebody doesn't have the story, if somebody has a different story, like I'm a pretty good person, I do my best, and you miss the dentist appointment, a lot of us are like, oh, thank God, I can't stand the dentist. You know, I'll pay the $20 fee. I don't have to go. You don't attach I'm a shitty person to it. And so she started using, I'm not thinking about that. She's not ready to believe she's a good person yet, because she's so used to saying, I'm not a good person. So the first step is interrupt the thing, then take notice, and then you can start to create what I call a meaningful mantra, because now we want to break the pattern by saying, I'm not thinking about that, or use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then when you're ready, you can create a meaningful mantra to replace it, because any pattern is going to repeat. unless you replace it. You want to be a travel blogger, it sounds like.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Does that scare you?
Not at all. I'm pushing myself quite a lot. Even before my parents passed, I had the goal, okay, I want to make my illustration job and so on. But here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
I'm doing this since, like I said, I mean, I draw for more years now, but I started the online business 2021. So
yeah.
And I'm not making that much income. Sometimes there are months where I'm making nothing. And that's totally fine because I'm at the beginning. I also have, that's also good to know, I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I love making videos. I'm learning so much. I started TikTok. I have my homepage. I'm writing blog posts. Mel, I also wrote a blog post about you.
Oh.
I'll
have to read it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because there's a huge theme here. You guys noticing the theme with everybody? You guys all have lots of stuff going on. And that's an important thing if you need to have a lot of stuff going on to make ends meet.
Mm.
And I love that you're saying that your illustrations and that store is at the very beginning of the process, and that's going to take time. That's true. But here's what I don't hear. What do you want your life to look like?
I want this to go pretty well. I want to be able, like I wrote, I want to be able to travel. And my goal is to make this happen next year. And
So what do you mean by travel? See, the other thing I'm going to keep pointing out to everybody is that before you can figure out the plan or the map to get where you want to go, you got to pick your head up and point at what you want. And the more specific the destination, the better. It is impossible to give you great guidance and coaching if I don't know exactly what you want. Because here's the thing, if you really wanted life where you travel, I can tell you 10 travel bloggers that you should follow. You can stalk their stories, and with your skills, you could probably be making money and doing that full time in a matter of 3 to 6 months. Because there are magazines that are looking for freelancers to do that. Once you get with one hotel, they connect you with another hotel. Once you start tagging people, cafes, it is one of those things that builds. You've told me you have no debt, that you have savings, that you have a job that is 12 hours a week that is not keeping you somewhere. So what do you actually want?
I know when I do this next year. So my first goal is to go to Japan again for 3 months.
Okay.
And I know that at my part-time job, they won't let me go and say, okay, it's unpaid vacation. And when you come back here, you can start again. So I know, okay, it's kind of.
So here's what's interesting. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to push you a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Do you have, is that house that you're sitting in a place that you own that you have to pay for?
Nope, it's a flat. And it's the flat of my best friend. And I have to pay such less money.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Your whole life is organized around what's happening at this 12-hour-a-week job.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know why I'm pointing that out?
No.
We are in the single best job market in 40 years.
What was my best job?
No. This is the best job market in 40 years. People cannot find people to work.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm trying to tell you is that you're organizing your entire life around a part-time job.
I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
Yeah, I have the exact same thought. They are
no, but where am I
jobs.
going? Where am I going? I'm going to push you.
There are shitty jobs out there everywhere. I can.
There's a shitty job in Japan waiting for you.
Yeah, everywhere. I know. Yeah.
Your issue is courage.
Yeah. That's fun because courage is one of my things that I'm keeping pushing myself. Okay. Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. That's right.
I have a feeling that you holding on to where you are has to do with grieving.
Grieving and maybe, okay, my because I have a partner and he also lives here. But I think we can maybe hopefully figure something out.
Elena?
Yeah.
Hope is for children on Christmas morning who hope that they're going to get a certain present. You are a 33-year-old brilliant woman who has taken control of her healing, who has figured out how to set up an entire business around your illustrations. You have paid off your debt. You have savings. We are no longer in a game of hope. We are in the business of creating a life that's amazing. And that begins the moment you wake up and go, what the fuck am I doing? I'm worried about this job. I am going to call a meeting tonight with my partner and I'm going to say, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are going to reinvent our lives. Fuck it. Let's figure out how to go to Japan for 3 months. Because this shitty job's going to be here. And so is this flat when we decide we don't like it. And if I burn through my savings trying to figure something out because I can't figure out how to make that work, then I'll just save more money.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
I'm writing courage big on
courage. And courage means action.
Yeah.
You're going to feel afraid, but this is the day.
No, that's normal growth.
You're not going to grow in that flat. And you're not going to grow next year. And I'm not going to allow you to wait another year.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm feeling. Every time I wake up, I'm doing my stuff and I'm doing quite a lot of stuff. And I wrote it also to you. Wait, let me point this out.
I saw it. I don't need this. You don't need that. I don't need the story. I don't care how much you're doing. You're doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
I'm fucking busy too. And for a long time, it was the wrong stuff, which is why I was miserable.
The only thing I felt, why I feel so, why I ask you if it's naive or so, because I'm not making that much income or not at all income now. This is
who cares? Who cares? So you're not making a lot of income, which only means if you stay in the place that you're in, you're going to stay trapped because you don't have enough income. You're not going to have enough income next year either.
Yeah.
Take a risk. Live a little. You can come back to this.
Yeah. This was exactly what I was feeling the whole time.
Well, I hope this is exactly what you do.
Yeah.
Because feeling it, unless it activates action, you might as well just fart because it doesn't do anything. Like it just is like, you need to get frustrated and say, I'm done with this. I am sick of myself. In fact, let's pick a date right now. What day are you going to Japan or going to another country or quitting this job? Give me the day. Let's commit publicly right now. It's March 22nd.
March or April.
Give me a date. Let's pull the calendar.
Okay, let's say April the 1st.
April 1st? Hell yes. All right, great. You're going to keep us posted on where you're doing and what your plan is.
I will.
Will you put Glow Autonomo, her account in the in Instagram? Thank you. She started travel blogging, I think 7 years ago. And really amazing woman, really good friend of mine, super inspiring.
Okay.
She'll give you tips. And I think on her YouTube channel, she's got all kinds of stuff about how to get started. She's killer.
I also haven't found an illustrator who does this because I would love to incorporate
listen, I think your ideas are incredible. Go do them.
Okay.
Here's an illustration. You ready?
Yeah.
Give us an illustration of the moment that you got off your ass and quit that job. And then give us an illustration of you like buying the plane ticket. And then give us an illustration of how scared you are as you see the savings go down a little. And then give us an illustration of what your partner looks like when he's like, wait, what? We're going where? And then give us an illustration of your first day in Japan.
Yeah.
And then give us take us on the journey with you.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. You're awesome. How you can interrupt negative thoughts and flip into a positive mindset. And why would you want to do that? Well, the reason why you want to do that is because your thoughts lead you in a particular direction. And if you start to allow your mind to dwell on negative outcomes, if you start to obsess that things are not going to work out, if you allow yourself to continue to think negative thoughts, you're not only priming your mind to default to negative, but you will literally, through your thoughts, trigger negative actions. You know, if you think about it, you've had experiences in your life, right, where you've really trashed yourself. You've hated on yourself. And when you continually think that you hate yourself, or you continually tell yourself that you're screwing up, you tend to do things that you hate, don't you? But when you're in a positive mindset, when you're in an optimistic mindset, when you interrupt those negative thoughts and you start to say, well, maybe it is going to work out, or, you know, I got to just keep on going. Your thoughts literally can trigger positive action too. And so that's what we're going to talk about today as we read the High Five Habit. Welcome to the live stream. Also, we are going to take your questions. So for those of you that want to read along, page 59, we're going to read 4 pages of the book today, finish chapter 4, and I'm also going to teach you the one trick all confident people use to stay positive. Here we go. So to understand the profound power of accepting and encouraging yourself, which is a way to have a positive mindset, to have a mindset that defaults on being encouraging. Let's look at some research on what psychologists call your core fundamental emotional needs. So let me ask everybody, do you know what your core emotional needs are? There are 3 of them. I want you to go in the comments. What do you think your 3 core emotional needs are as a human being? These are the core emotional needs that every human being needs in order to feel safe, in order to feel connected to themselves, in order to feel loved. What are those core needs, everybody? I'd like you to just write them in the comments, okay? Yep, one's safety, one's love. These are great. What else? What are your needs? Your core emotional needs. I see longing. I see love. These are excellent, excellent responses, everybody. Human connection, love, acceptance. Yep. Trust, honesty. What are your core? There they are. I see Felicia's nailed it. To be seen, to be heard, and to be, she says validated, but it can be validated, accepted, or celebrated for the unique individual that you are. So to be seen, to be heard, and to be celebrated and accepted for the unique individual that you are and the unique contribution that you have. When you feel seen, when you feel heard, and when you feel celebrated or accepted for the contribution that you make as an individual, unique individual, you feel safe, you feel like you belong, and at your core, you feel loved. When you don't feel seen, you feel invisible in life. When you don't feel heard, you're going to feel misunderstood. And when you don't feel like you are accepted or validated, you feel completely rejected and disconnected. You feel like you are unworthy or unloved. And so again, we're going to talk about your need to be seen, to be heard, and to be accepted and celebrated. You need this at work. You need this at home. You need this in your relationships, your friendships, your romantic relationships, your family. And, you know, if you just reflect in your life, where do you feel seen, heard, and celebrated? Where in your life do you feel that way? Or is there a person in your life that makes you feel that way? Hopefully, you are saying that you make yourself feel seen, heard, and celebrated. But is there somebody else in your life that makes you feel that way? It could be a caregiver. It could be somebody that you're in a romantic relationship with. It could be a mentor. It could be a friend. It could be your pet, right? Like, I mean, I think one of the reasons why we all love our cats and our dogs so much is because there's such unconditional love. You walk in the door, they come running right at you. And so you feel seen and you feel celebrated, right? And when they're right there with you, or, you know, have you ever noticed how when you get really upset and you start crying, what do your animals do? Oh my God, they hear you and they come right on over. And those responses that are so innate when it comes to your pets, everybody, they're fulfilling your emotional needs. That's why you feel so safe and connected and loved by your pets, because you feel seen by them, you feel heard by them, and you feel celebrated and loved by them. And I do see people saying, I feel that way about my daughter, my mom, a mentor of mine. These core values, when they're missing from your life of being seen, heard, celebrated, and accepted, this is what leads you to feeling stuck and disconnected and unfulfilled. And the good news is, when you realize that these core fundamental needs truly dictate how you feel and experience your life, now you've got the access point to be able to change how you're experiencing your life by focusing on your core fundamental needs and making sure that they are met. All right. You need these 3 fundamental emotional needs in order to thrive. You know, they talk about this in Psychology 101. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And here's the background. You have basic needs that are fundamental to your fulfillment, your happiness, and your survival. You know you need water, food, oxygen, shelter, and sleep, right? Because if you don't have water or food or oxygen or shelter, or you get enough sleep, guess what? You die. That's how fundamental these core needs are. You also know that you need friendship, or else you're going to feel lonely. And research shows that people die from loneliness too. It's a huge killer. You may also know that you have a fundamental need to grow, because if you're not growing and learning as a person, you start to feel stuck in your life. But what you may not know is that you do have these core fundamental emotional needs to be seen, to be heard, to be loved for the unique individual that you are. And when these emotional needs are not met, it's not only a form of neglect, but you will feel unloved, invisible, and unfulfilled. And see, I believe that's how we all got so critical of ourselves in the first place. And it's why we're twisting ourselves in knots ever since. That at some point in your childhood, those core fundamental needs stop being fulfilled. You started feeling invisible. You started feeling disconnected. You started feeling like you didn't belong. And as we talked about in yesterday's video, this is all covered in chapter 4 of the High Five Habit, that you then turned that feeling against yourself, and you started to go, well, there must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It was that your 3 fundamental emotional needs were not being fulfilled by the adults around you. That's all that was wrong. So you can change this, by the way, for yourself, because what's missing if you're not fulfilled in life, is a deeper connection to yourself, because you've probably been so busy running from one thing to the next that you can't even grasp right now how big of a shift it's going to create when you start each morning by simply seeing, hearing, and honoring yourself. And one of the reasons why I love all the research around adding a simple high five in the mirror to your morning routine is that it fulfills your deepest emotional needs as a human being. This one action of just high-fiving yourself in the mirror, add it to your morning routine. How many of you have added a high five to your morning routine and you're stunned by how much it's changing the way that you see yourself, the way that you treat yourself? Because as you've learned, these 3 emotional needs were probably never met during your childhood, and you haven't been given the tools until right now to be thinking about this and to start fulfilling these emotional needs as an adult. And, you know, the reason why you feel invisible at work, or you feel outside of your friend group, or you feel disconnected in your relationships as an adult, not to mention the relationship you have with yourself, is because there's something missing. And what's missing is a deeper sense that you actually matter. What's missing is the sense that you are being seen and heard and appreciated. This is critical. It's so critical. If you were to wake up and you had a feeling of being connected to yourself, and you felt seen in your life, and you felt appreciated in your life, and you felt heard in your life, that would absolutely change how you go through life. That's why this is such powerful stuff, as simple as it is. And I love seeing so many of you writing in the comments about how you are adding in the high five, and how it's changing your life, and how you're starting to take your emotional needs seriously, and you're starting to make it a priority to fulfill them, and how it's changing everything. Now look, don't bother arguing with me because I did the math. I think sometimes in life, you forget just how miraculous you are. You know, you get so beaten down by the day-to-day, and you're so sort of beaten up by what you've survived in your past, that you've lost sight of how extraordinary you are. And so I'm going to remind you of how extraordinary you are. And I brought some math to prove it. So I just want you to wrap your brain around this really cool fact. The odds of you being born are 1 in a million. We're just going to start there, okay? We're going to do some simple math and we're going to build. The odds of you being born are for sure 1 in a million, because your mom carries over 1 million eggs in her body during her lifetime. Isn't that wild? You're 1 in a million. But guess what? That's not even close to the mathematical phenomenon that you are. 1 in a million doesn't even touch the surface of how extraordinarily unique and amazing you are. Because based on recent research, scientists have also figured out that the egg that formed you was really choosy, and that egg could determine which of your father's 250 million sperm cells it wanted to connect with. That's right. This was not a race with the sperm. The egg was very, very choosy. And if that egg that created you chose any other sperm, guess what? You wouldn't be watching this live stream. Your sibling would, because you never would have been born. So just wrap your mind around those odds. 1 in a million plus 1 in 250 million? What are the odds of that? Well, the experts crunched the numbers on that, and the odds of you being the result and being born and being here with me right now, 1 in 400 trillion. 1 in 400 trillion. Now, guess what? I'm not even done yet. 1 in 400 trillion doesn't even scratch the surface in terms of what a miracle you are. Are you ready? A scientist from Harvard heard me cite that number, 1 in 400 trillion, in my TEDx talk. And he wrote a research paper to say, Mel Robbins, you are wrong. You are such a miracle. The odds of you being born is such a miracle. And the number is so insane. I don't even know how to say the number. Literally, no idea how to say the number. It's like 1 times 10,000 with that little sort of factor at the top with another million. Like, it's bananas. I can't even explain to you what a miracle that you are. And all of this math, it proves something really important. And that is that someone as unique and special as you deserves to be seen and heard. Feeling like you matter, that somebody cares about you, that you are worth celebrating, it is one of your most important and fundamental needs. And I'm here to tell you that because the math proves that you are a walking miracle, there will never be another you. There never has been another you. There will never be another you that will ever walk this earth. You are the one and only, which means you have something extraordinarily unique to give to the world. And feeling celebrated and feeling seen and feeling heard, it is so tied into your existence because of how unique you are. That's why you long to be recognized as an individual. That's why you long to be celebrated as an individual. This need, it's so important and foundational to you and the fact that your birth and existence is a miracle, that it's as important to your well-being to be seen and heard and appreciated as food and water. The difference between a good day and a bad day, you know what it comes down to typically, is just being acknowledged by somebody. And you know who's the best person to acknowledge and validate you? You are. And that brings me back to that moment every single morning when you come face to face with yourself in the mirror. High-fiving yourself is so much more than a physical act. It's foundational. It's a transfer of energy. It symbolizes an alliance and a belief in yourself and your ability. You aren't congratulating yourself. You're celebrating yourself as you are. And you just heard the math. Your existence is what makes you worthy of a high five. Your presence, your hopes, your dreams, your capacity to love, your ability to heal, to change, to grow, your heart, your soul. That's what makes you worthy of being seen and heard and appreciated. Not once in a while, but every single day. That's what you deserve. That's what you need. And the miracle of your existence is why you need it. See, when you are able to see yourself, when you are able to celebrate yourself, when you are able to treat yourself in a way that you have been wishing your parents would have, or wishing your friends or your spouse or your boss would, when you take control, this is what you communicate. It's incredible. You're basically, when you're able to hear yourself and see yourself and support yourself, and I believe that simply adding a high five in the mirror to yourself as part of your morning routine, every single day, you start the day by fulfilling those foundational needs that the miracle of your birth demands of you. Number one, you're communicating confidence. You're saying, I believe in you when you do that. Number two, you're celebrating yourself. You're basically like, you're amazing. You got this. You're validating yourself. You're saying, I see you. I'm not going to ignore you or pick you apart. You communicate optimism. I can do this. I can face this day. And I love adding a high five to your morning routine because it is an action. You're demonstrating belief in self. You're demonstrating acceptance of self. And you are sending yourself into the day to take action. Wouldn't it be incredible to feel all those feelings at once? I know it would. It would be mind-blowing. Literally, it could possibly blow up your subconscious because your brain, based on your life experience, is programmed the opposite. It's not been programmed to absorb all this yummy, gooey, amazing validation. But guess what? Your brain loves it. Absolutely loves it. See, I believe you were wired for love. I believe that you came into this world whole and complete and loving and seeing and accepting yourself and being deeply connected to yourself. And that's why you miss feeling that way. And it's also why This change of adding a high five to your morning routine is almost instantaneous. This is why the programming that we're activating in your mind, body, and spirit, when you start to acknowledge and accept yourself and treat yourself with kindness, and when you start to flip the way that you think, and you start to cheer for yourself and believe in yourself, this is your default. You are going back to who you are when you practice the tools that I'm teaching you. It is your true nature to love yourself. It is your true nature to believe in yourself. It is your true nature to feel deeply connected to yourself and a sense of purpose. That's why you miss it. You can only miss what you know. And so I want you to come back home to who you are. That's what I want you to do. Now, okay, I get it. But Mel, how do I think different thoughts? And this is what I promise to teach you. The trick that all confident people use to stay positive. The trick that you can use to think different thoughts. Well, the first step to thinking different thoughts is you have to catch the old thought that takes you low, okay? And if you don't know what the thought is that takes you low, here's a hint. It's some version of I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not lucky enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. There's something wrong with me. It's some version of that. And if you know what the thought is that always brings you down, could you please write it in the comments? Because you will inspire somebody else. You will make somebody else realize they're not alone. Okay? What is the thought that always takes you down? Mine is some version of, it never works out for me. People are mad at me. I'm not a good person. Nothing I ever do is gonna like, it's just some just horrible version of that. Okay. So first step number one, what is the thought that always takes you down? I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not loved enough. I'll never be this. Like I see this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not now, never will be. I'm never going to grow up. I'm never going to get it right. I always screw things up. I'm not thin enough. I'm not smart enough. Other people do it better than me. I'm too big. Anyway, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep writing this down because you're giving other people permission to take a look. I'll never make enough money. I'll never be a good father. I'll never be a good wife. Nobody loves me. Nobody has ever loved me. All of this horse shit that you tell yourself. This has become the default wiring. Step number one is identify what thought takes you down. Okay. It's like dropping a guillotine on your power and on your future and on your possibility. It cuts you off from who you truly are and what you truly want and desire and deserve in your life. And whenever you think this thought, I'll never be loved, I'll never meet somebody's standards, I'll never make the money, you literally also stop yourself from taking the actions that change your life. So great job. You've already done step one. Identify the thought that takes you down. Because here's the cool thing. That's not how you came into this world. You didn't come into this world thinking, I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I never do anything right. I'll never amount to anything. I never should have been born. You didn't come into the world thinking that. Somebody taught you to think that. And so if you can figure out what that negative thought is, right? Pick your poison. I'm not smart enough, good enough, tall enough, skinny enough, rich, whatever it is. I call it poison. You want to know why? I call it poison because thinking this negative thought is like drinking poison. It kills your spirit and your innate desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be celebrated. You are dropping the guillotine right on yourself when you think this poisonous thought, okay? Now, what is step two? Step two is, yes, you have to identify it, but it's not enough to just identify it. Step two is we need to replace it, okay? We need to replace it. And so I'm going to teach you what you're going to do next. The next time you think that negative, I'm not enough thought, you're going to break the thought by saying, I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about that. And then number 3, we have got to replace the thought. So you're going to catch the thought, you're going to break the thought, and then we're going to replace the thought. That's what you need to do to get this poison out of your mind and start thinking thoughts that align with your fundamental needs. And what are your fundamental needs? It's what we've been talking about today. It's to be seen, it's to be heard, it's to be celebrated. And one of the things that I love about cultivating a high 5 attitude is the high 5 attitude is an attitude that aligns with believing in yourself, seeing yourself, and appreciating, celebrating, and encouraging yourself to continue to move forward. That's what you're doing. And so one of the things that you can do, I know this is going to sound crazy, is by adding a high 5 to your morning routine, it helps you rewire your mind in a very powerful way. And the reason why it will help you rewire your mind in a very powerful way is if your default right now is, I'm not enough, when you add this to your morning routine, your brain sees you treating yourself in the exact opposite way of that negative poisonous thought. Because you don't high 5 somebody that you think isn't enough or that sucks or that you hate. You only high 5 people that you believe in, that you think are enough, and that you're rooting for. And so add a high 5 to your morning routine, because that is part of the positive forward programming of plowing new neural pathways in your mind. Again, let me repeat the trick all confident people use to stay positive. You got to catch that negative poisonous thought. You got to break it. I'm not thinking about that. Talk back to it. And then you must replace it. You have to learn how to replace it and program a positive mind, because your brain's circuitry is designed to just repeat the patterns that are there. So simply identifying and trying to break the pattern won't work. We got to replace it and program new neural pathways in. This is why all of you who are high-fiving yourself, whether you're taking the High 5 Challenge, go to highfivechallenge.com. It's a free 5-day program that I lead you through. You can do it with 150,000 other people from 90 different countries, or whether you've read the book or watched our videos or listened to these live streams. For those of you that are adding the high 5 to your morning routine, what are you noticing about the way it's changing your mind? What are you noticing about how those negative poisonous thoughts are starting to be replaced by more positive programming? That's what this book is about, everybody. Write it in the comments. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to some questions. That is the end of chapter 4. Oh, wait, I've got one more paragraph and then I'll do it to questions. The reason why you want to catch the thought, break the thought, replace the thought is because we want to teach you how to let validation, confidence, celebration, optimism, and action, a high 5 attitude. We want to teach you how to make that the new default. That whenever you feel yourself going mentally low because of poisonous thoughts, that the thought alone, those poisonous thoughts, they paralyze your ability to move forward. So whenever you think that thought, I want you to learn how to catch it. Because whenever you have that poisonous thought, you don't want to high 5 anybody, right? You don't want to high 5 yourself. You don't want to do anything. You don't feel like doing anything. It kills your inspiration and motivation. So we want to catch it. We want to break that thought, and we want to replace it.
So what I know about all of us, I was super stuck. The one thing that really marks that time was a ton of self-loathing and feeling worthless and shame and kind of all those really dark emotions. If you are somebody, which you are, that is smart, that is able to identify the things that you need to do, and you consistently don't do them, then there is an underlying story that you have about yourself that keeps playing out. And maybe you were, I don't off the top of my head know your story in terms of your past, but maybe you were in an abusive relationship. Maybe you were in a relationship as a child with parents that made you feel worthless. Maybe you had a huge setback and you haven't recovered from it. There is an element to where when it's self-sabotage, what happens for a lot of us is we take what somebody else used to do to us and do it to ourselves because it's the only thing you know. So were you in like an abusive relationship? For real? Was it physical abuse, sexual abuse? That can actually be worse. The issue for you is those tapes. And the issue for you is that the thinking that you're worthless and that you're stupid and that you're not good enough and that you can't do anything right, that it got so ingrained by some as screwed up as it sounds, if that's all that you've ever heard, it becomes the thing that you repeat, very much like learning a language. So if you think about the fact that as a kid, if you are in a household that speaks a certain language, let's say they're speaking Russian, you pick it up and then you don't even realize it, but you parrot it back, and when you're not thinking about it or when you get super tired, even if you've spoken English for 20 years, you might say something in Russian. And that's what you're going to war against. Can you tell me in your own words, what is the word that you use? Do you know, is it worthless? Is it don't deserve it? What did he used to say to you that really hurt? Dummy? The reason why you don't carve out time for yourself and the reason why you blow off the appointments for yourself, notice it's not for other people, it's for you, is because of this underlying feeling that you're not important. And the only way to break this, you've already gone to therapy, you've already dealt with the tapes, you don't use that language with yourself. The only way to break apart this story is through action now. The reason why I say that is because you can make all the plans in the world, but until you see yourself taking action on the things that are important to you, your own inaction enforces the story that you're a dummy. Does that make sense? So it sounds like through intensive therapy, you got rid of the tape, but you didn't get rid of the behavior. What happens when somebody is beaten down and psychologically battered is you become paralyzed, you doubt everything, you feel like you're spinning in circles, you feel like you can't rely on yourself. That is a classic manifestation of emotional abuse because you lose your power. And so you start spinning. And for you, you've stopped doing that in your head, and now you're just frustrated as hell because you can't see yourself moving forward. You're physically doing it in your life. So here's what I would like you to do. Let's pick one area where you feel stuck and where you know what you need to do. And what does that mean? See, dummy. Do you see this? I'm going to keep pointing it out because you've adopted the self-criticism. This is what I want you to do. I want you to run just for 1 week. That's it. I just want you every day for 1 week to push yourself, no matter how you're feeling, no matter how stupid you think it is, no matter how you now start feeling resigned that it's not going to work. I want you every single day to either watch something about SEO or put up one project, because I need for you to start to break the cycle of spinning in place, and I need for you to see yourself starting to inch forward. It's critical because you now need physical evidence that you can push yourself forward because you can't even hear how critical you are of yourself. I don't think there's anybody in your life but you that's saying it. Then the person that you're in a relationship with, could you ask that person to also police the way you talk to yourself? And what that means is when he points it out, you can't kill him. The reason why I'm telling you to ask somebody else to coach you when it comes to how you talk to yourself or how you talk to others is because you can't hear it. I can't hear my tone. So I have this edge that I get that is really good in business. But when I bring it into the kitchen and I talk to the kids that way, or I talk to Chris that way, it is really demoralizing. And I have started asking the kids and Chris to point it out because I can't hear it. I just know I'm tired, or I know I'm frustrated. It's amazing. The kids have started even saying, hey, anger spreads. Just because you're angry at work doesn't mean you get the right to talk to me that way. So it makes me angry when they point that out. But then I go, oh, there it is. I didn't even realize. I'm sorry. And I've gotten better about now immediately not getting angry that somebody's telling me that when I've asked them to, but actually taking the feedback and saying, thank you. I don't want to talk to you that way. And you're right. Just because I'm frustrated with a phone call I just had doesn't mean I get to take it out on you. You got this. And look, if you've done that much therapy, you have all the tools. And the thing about the advice to you is that we try to self-improve in isolation. It is so much easier when other people are helping you. So much easier. Whether it's exercise, whether it's your tone of voice, whether it's staying motivated, really big distinction for me, not to change alone.
I struggled with anxiety for 30 years. I took Zoloft for 2.5 decades, and it was a life changer. But it wasn't until I understood my nervous system's role in this and the default beat down negative critic and how that keeps your anxiety alive and how you can use high five habits to regulate your nervous system, which is critical because remember, when your nervous system is on edge and when your nervous system is what psychologists call dysregulated, or you have a trauma response programmed into your nervous system, and let's be honest, every single one of us has experienced trauma on some level.
Yeah.
And after these last 18 months, everybody's nervous system is at a on edge setting.
Yeah.
Are we masks? Are we not masks? Are we in quarantine? Are we not? Are the kids going back to school? Are they not going back to school? Are we getting on planes? Are we not getting on planes? Am I allowed to leave the country? Can I not? Like you're constantly in this state of uncertainty. So I want you to take a second habit that is going to help tremendously with anxiety. It also helps with focus, and I'll explain how in a minute. So I call this habit, and we write about it and explain the science behind it in this book, The High Five Habit. It's called high-fiving your heart. And here's how you're going to do it. So high-fiving your heart is a way to take advantage of your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve, as you know, you talk about this, runs from your seat all the way to the top of your head. It goes through every major organ. It goes through your vocal cords. Your vagus nerve is literally a treasure that you need to discover. It is the on-off switch that helps you switch between your sympathetic, which is your on-edge, anxiety-ridden, stressed out, dysregulated nervous system, and the switch to a calm, cool, grounded nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system. So what you can do every single morning, and I do this right when I get out of bed. So the alarm rings, I use the 5-second rule, I count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that helps me get out of bed. I move on one. And mornings are always hard for me. I hate getting out of bed. I love how cozy the bed is. If I were left to my own devices, Fern, I would lay in bed and I would stare at the ceiling and I would think about all the what ifs that could go wrong today. And I would slowly become a human pot roast marinating in fear, and anxiety and panic and overwhelm and depression would pin me to that bed like a gravity blanket. And I would lay there for hours. That's what I do when I'm in distress. I love to just soak up all that anxiety. So I get out of bed. That's really important for me. Then I make my bed. And then I do this thing where I take my hands, and I got these big mitts. So I, like put them right in the center of my chest, but you want to get it right. Make sure your hands are touching your heart because your vagus nerve runs through your heart. And you're going to press against your chest. This is high-fiving your heart. And then you're going to take a deep breath. And then you're going to say these 3 sentences. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. And you're going to repeat those sentences over and over and over again. And what's going to happen is wild. You are going to feel your nervous system calm down. You're going to feel yourself, like your being, come back into your body. I call this body confidence. It's being comfortable, literally comfortable in your own skin. And I do this first thing in the morning for a very important reason. First of all, This was new research to me, but I talked to this amazing expert in neuroscience her name's Dr. Judy Willis. She was at UCLA for a long time, and she's been researching forever the connection between your nervous system and your brain's ability to learn new information. And her research shows that when your nervous system is on edge, which everybody's is, you're waiting for the next shoe to drop, you feel nervous, you can't quite focus, you are having trouble sleeping, you're constantly having your mind wander, your breath is sort of shallow. Everybody feels this way right now because of our shared experience and what we're living through. When your nervous system is in that state, it is impossible for the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that you use when you're learning new behavior or when you're really focusing on something, it's impossible for it to engage. And, I can explain this. Like if somebody were to come running into your room right now and scream, the house is on fire, the house is on fire. First of all, your nervous system would go into a state of being on edge and it would go into alarm mode to alert you. But you wouldn't be able to do a math problem in that moment because your nervous system is taken over. And so if you're struggling with focus right now, and who isn't, if you're constantly trapped in that what if loop where you're worried, and you can't bring your attention to something optimistic or positive, if you're having trouble feeling like you're in control, I want you to also add into your morning routine this high five to your heart, because I want you to settle into your body and I want you to activate your vagus nerve. Because if you can start your day with a calm and cool nervous system, you've got a fighting chance to not only stay in control, but to make progress on something that matters, to not be so reactive to everything going on around you and to feel like your emotions are going to hijack you. And then when you walk into the bathroom and you brush your teeth and you have this moment with yourself, your brain is now ready to think about the day ahead and to think about it in an optimistic way and to think about how you want to show up and to work for you. See, what I love about all these tools that I've uncovered just by, dumb luck and by being at a bottom moment in my own life is that there's so much about the way your body's trying to help you, your vagus nerve, the fact that the filter in your brain, the RAS, can actually change in real time and filter how it sees the world when you use these tools I'm teaching you, the fact that your subconscious mind is already programmed with all the positive association with the high five, the fact that your nervous system recognizes raising your hands as celebratory. This is your body, your nervous system, your mind trying to help you be happy, help you be positive, help you get back to the state that you were frankly born in.
How do I avoid busy action and only apply that to the right actions? She's just not sure what actions to take. And I'm sure you've been there as I have. What do you tell her?
Well, so first of all, I think any action that you take is a good one, even if it's busy, right? So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get moving, stop thinking, do what you need to do. When you notice that you're just focused on the busy stuff and your wisdom, your instincts are telling you you're avoiding the big thing, that's a moment of power. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go focus on the big thing. The other thing that's going to help her is if every morning you, in those 20 minutes that you find for yourself before you look at the phone and you plan your day, come up with your priority for the day that matters to you, like some project you're working on, something related to your business, and then identify the one thing that you're going to do that scares you today to drive the business forward. That's it. If you were to just do one thing a day that's outside your comfort zone with your business, you'll be shocked at where your business is 6 months from now. Just one. I'm not asking for big shit here. I'm asking for one thing. And do it even though you don't feel like it.
So you didn't always know exactly what action to take. You were just taking action and adapting and adjusting along the way.
No, I feel like there are some people in life that I think are like gifted with OCD or like on the spectrum Aspergery, that are super like focused and they know exactly what they want and they can just march right towards it and that's how they go. I'm not like that. I have to stumble into things. So what happens for me is my instincts tell me something, and then I go and take action to do it. And then as I'm doing it, I gather all this data data that tells me I hate, oh, what the heck? Hold on, this is CNN. We got to decline that. Tell them goodbye. Data that informs me. I'm going to give you an example, okay? So I had tremendous success in the speaking business. I went from zero, never had been paid for a speech, to literally the most booked woman in the world in 3 years flat.
Crazy.
And there's a number of reasons why. Number one, the content's terrific. I'm also a really good public speaker. There's not a lot of women on the circuit, but more importantly, I behave in a way because I know that the number one asset in business is make the people you're dealing with know that they matter. Take care of everybody you deal with, everybody. The event planners, the speaking bureaus, everybody has something that they're worried about. You get rid of the worry, you make them feel like they're important. Everybody wants to be around you because at the end of the day, we all want to know that we matter. So if you do business with people that make you feel good, you want to do more business with them. And so it's a really, really simple thing. I call it, my philosophy about human beings is just be a fan. Just cheer for everybody. There's so much success to go around. People have really difficult lives. They make things really hard for themselves. Make their life easy. Make them feel great. Give them a hug, smile, compliment them. Be generous. Don't be a pain in the ass. Like literally, it's that simple. So I explode. Now here's the thing. I thought when I started the speaking business that it would be really amazing to just for the rest of my life be a speaker. Here's what I discovered. There are so many aspects of running a speaking business at this level that deplete the hell out of me. I hate being alone. I hate traveling that much. I really don't like the fact that when I get off the stage, I don't have contact with the audience anymore. What energizes me is conversations like this. What energizes me is hearing from people, connecting with them, the ongoing stuff. And so a year ago, I made a decision, I got to shift the business. Now, it's already a really successful business, and you watching this, your business may be wildly successful too. Let me ask you a question. What aspects of your business energize you? And what aspects deplete you? There's an enormous business opportunity for you right now to simply align your business with the things that energize you more. So for me, that meant, how do I take this significant revenue and duplicate it, but not get on a plane? How do I reach people with these ideas and inspire them without having to be away from my family? How do I have an ongoing connection? Because those are the things that energize me. And so I made a huge pivot. We cut the number of speeches in half and we launched an online course business. We are now in the audio products business. And so that, because it energizes me, because I have an ongoing connection with people. Other than talking to you, which is fucking awesome, hearing from everybody, what they got out of this, seeing your photographs of you with the phone and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then getting the post that you actually closed a big deal. That is so cool because I see that you're changing. That is what is amazing. Now, here's the other thing, guys. 5 years from now, it may deplete the hell out of me to do online courses. Something else, live events, might energize me. So I will make that pivot. So when I said in the very beginning, Peter, there's only one you, and you've got this whole casserole of experiences and interesting wisdom, that depleted versus energized data is that wisdom. Use it to your advantage in business. If you freaking hate selling, hire somebody to do it for you. Pay attention to what your instincts are telling you. I'm not great at managing people. I don't have the patience to explain everything, you know? I'm not great with details in terms of production management. It depletes me. So don't do it. Find a partner, get somebody so this is what I'm saying. You may be banging your head against the wall, and the reason why you haven't hit that level is because you're scared shitless to hire somebody or partner with somebody or give up this aspect of your business that takes 80% of your time, gives you 20% of your revenue, and depletes the hell out of you. Stop being stupid. Do the stuff that feels good. That's easy. That doesn't mean you won't have toilet days. That doesn't mean you don't have to do stuff like empty the trash or do the annoying things. We all have to. But align your business with the things that naturally energize you, and you will explode your income.
Being in an unhealthy marriage. If you stand in front of the mirror and you say to yourself, I'm going to love myself no matter what. Okay. Or I'm going to make this marriage work. Or something that is really out there, this statement that's like, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to do what it takes to save this marriage. Okay. Do you see how that is a statement that is really kind of way up there, right? If you're in an unhealthy marriage, standing in front of a mirror and saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this work. Or standing in front of a mirror and saying, I got to just hold on because I don't want to hurt the kids. That is an affirmation or a mantra that you will then contradict all day long with your actions. Because if you're in an unhealthy relationship, you are tolerating behavior that's not acceptable. You're probably not doing the work in therapy, or if you are in therapy, you're going to the sessions but not applying it in real time. You are also probably not telling the truth about what you need and then holding somebody to that in time and space. And so what I would want you to say instead is something that you can believe, which is, I deserve to be in a healthy relationship. I deserve to be in a healthy relationship. When you say I deserve to be in something, you're not saying you know how to make it happen. You're not saying that it's going to happen overnight. You are setting a standard that even though your mind sees you having tolerated emotional or whatever kind of abuse or unhealthy dynamics in your relationship, when you say, I deserve to be in a healthy relationship, that is a believable mantra or affirmation. And you can say that to yourself all day long. And your actions, whatever they are, or your thoughts throughout the day, are not going to contradict that statement. Isn't that cool? Let's go on with another one. I need help with healthy boundaries, okay? I have unhealthy boundaries. I don't know how to say no. I feel guilty when I take time for myself. When you say, I'm going to be strong today, I'm saying no today, like when you say that as a mantra or an affirmation, if you have a moment of weakness, if you don't find the strength to say no, you are then going to have your actions contradict what you said in the morning, which erodes your confidence, it erodes your connection to self, it erodes your motivation to keep going. So you want to create a healthy boundary. You want to create a mantra, rather, that is something that you can believe. You ready? Here's some new mantras. And I've got a whole list of them that you can try out on page 95 called Meaningful Mantras. Let's see if any of these, give me a heart or write in the comments if you struggle with boundaries and you want to be a stronger person. How about this? I deserve to feel good today. I am an awesome person at my core. I'm going to try to have my own back today. Wow, what broke my heart in the past is going to open my eyes in the future. Now notice, when you say something like that, what broke my heart in the past has opened my eyes in the future. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to hold boundaries. It means that you're anchoring down in awareness. Today is going to be a good day. Notice I didn't say great. Notice I didn't say the best. Today is going to be a good day because you can find one good thing in any day, so it's more believable. I'm going to figure this out. Oh, I love that one. Don't you love that one as a mantra? I'm going to figure this out. Doesn't mean I'm going to figure it out today. But even if you're struggling with unhealthy boundaries, or you're in an unhealthy relationship, or you're struggling with procrastination, and today you procrastinate, or today you don't say no, and you say, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. You are bolstering the fact that every day you are learning something. What's meant for me is trying to find me. What's meant for me, this relationship, even though it's testing me, it's trying to teach me something. This scares me, but I'm going to try anyway. This scares me, but I'm going to try anyway. You know, I'm not giving myself enough credit. I'm not giving myself enough credit. That's a pretty good one, right? Because even if you don't follow through with the actions, it's true. You aren't giving yourself enough credit. And so what am I trying to teach you? Most mantras are bullshit because you're picking something you don't believe. So number one, you must pick something that even if you're not following through on the actions, you can get behind and believe. I deserve to be happy. Those of you that are writing in, I see in the comments a bunch of you saying, but what if I don't feel like I deserve it? I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. I want you to admit to me and to yourself right now that deep down, beneath all the pain, beneath all the heartache, beneath all the things that aren't working in your life, you do long to be happy. You miss it. You can only miss something that you know. And you know that deep down, you deserve that thing that you long for. When you say that you're unworthy or you don't believe that you deserve it, what that tells me is you don't think you can do the work to make it happen. Feeling insecure about your ability to make something happen is different than a belief that you don't deserve that thing you long for. And I want you to separate those two. For those of you that feel like you don't deserve success or you don't deserve happiness, write in the comments right now, I deserve to feel happy. I'm just not quite sure what to do to make it happen. Just write that statement. I deserve to feel happy. I'm just not quite sure today what to do to make that happen. Do you see how that is something you can get behind, right? That you deserve it, you're just not sure how to make it happen. And it's important for you to locate that inside you. Because when you can start to look in the mirror and say, I deserve to be happy. I'm tired of being sad. I deserve to be happy. I just don't know what to do today to make that happen. Once we can get you to start to say, I deserve to, I'm just not quite sure how to do it. Now, what's great about that is if you start repeating that throughout the day, you notice that halfway through the day, you have something crappy happen at work. Stop for a second. I deserve to be happy. I'm just not sure what to do today to make that happen. But I'm noticing that I don't really feel good at this job. That's amazing because you're starting to have this wake up moment. You're starting to have a wake up, right, to what you want. And that's the first step for any kind of transformation. And so the whole takeaway here is, number one, most mantras are complete bullshit because you're picking a mantra you do not believe. And then all day long, your actions and your thoughts just contradict the mantra, which means number three, your self-confidence and your desire to do the work to create that change just implodes and you lose all motivation and willpower. How you fix this is, number one, you pick what I call a believable. I should have called it kind of a lame mantra. That's not that inspiring. You pick something that's more believable because it's true. You do deserve to be happy. You know what else is true? Over time, you can figure anything out. You know what else is true? If you make progress every single day, you'll slowly start to turn your life in a little direction. You know what else is true? You are capable of doing the work over time to change your life. That is true. All those things are true. And what's going to happen if you stand in front of that mirror and you continue to say, everybody, I deserve to be happy. I'm just not quite sure how to make that happen today. What's going to start to happen is you're going to notice, because you're claiming the fact that you deserve it, you're going to start to notice that that line, I don't know what to do today, is going to start to change into, but I can figure it out. But I'm starting to figure it out. And that'll then change to, I deserve to be happy. And I see myself every day doing something small that makes me happy. Because you want to know the simple secret to feeling happier in your life. This is going to be crazy for you to hear, but it's true. The simple secret to feeling happier, it's about systems, everybody. It's not about your ability to be happy. It's about the systems that you create in your life and the habits that you have that create the feeling of happiness. So happy people do something that unhappy people don't. Happy people prioritize and plan and do things that make them happy. And it can be small things. Literally. We're going to dig into this in a much deeper level. But if you think about a time in your life when you were happier, write down all the things that you were doing that actually brought joy or happiness into your life. Now write down all the things that you do today. Compare the list. Your own wisdom is giving you the map. That's how you figure these things out. You also figure them out by watching live streams like this, reading books like The High Five Habit and The 5-Second Rule, by listening to podcasts. You have within you the ability to figure anything out. That's one of the best mantras on the planet, by the way, is that over time, and with a little bit of effort, I can figure this out. I know I can. And that is going to kind of push you forward. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.